Okay.
Welcome to the podcast.
Everything is a statement.
Everything's a Statement podcast. Today we are interviewing Tiana Miller-Jackson.
It's true.
Dr. Tiana Miller-Jackson.
That's a side note. Yes. Okay.
AKA T-Money.
That's true.
Right?
That's my rapper name. How did you know? Yes.
Isn't that your Instagram handle?
It's my Instagram and my email, but
Okay.
it's like Monet.
Monet.
Yeah, it's like Monet and money combined.
Like Janelle Monáe?
Kind of.
Kind of. Okay.
Not after her. I had it before that for the record.
Yeah, you were before her, so.
Yes, but it is spelled that way.
Okay. And while I'm looking for my other
Your mystery
follow-up questions, just to get to know you a little bit, so being that this podcast is about Christianity and art, and being a creative in that space, what is your relationship to God? How would you describe that?
Well, man, I like him a lot. Really enjoy God. I was thinking about how to describe this because I'm like, I feel like I just want to go into the gospel and be like, I believe that God's the most important thing, that God created us, that Jesus died and resurrected so we could like have eternal life. But then my relationship to God is more personal. Like, I definitely describe God as one of my best friends. Like, I definitely have ongoing conversations with God or share things with him, or like excited to get his opinion about stuff. So definitely the highlight of my creative experience too. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I really enjoy God.
And in relation to that, what is your relationship to art? And you wrote The Creative Space. What does that mean?
Well, I was just giving some leeway because, okay, so you're a filmmaker. Would you call yourself an artist?
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like if someone's like, I'm an artist, they might think a fine artist or something. So I was just giving room. Or if someone's a writer, maybe they write creative, like fiction novels.
Yeah.
Are they an artist? I mean, I would think so. I might describe them as an artist, but they might call themselves a creative.
Do you think, well, I guess that's maybe another topic, but anyone who creates is an artist? Or is that kind of...
That is an interesting question. No, that's an interesting question. I think that we're all able to be creative. Like, I have a theory that everybody has a creative outlet, but just some people don't spend time on it or don't think it's valuable, or like maybe have been told it's not and kind of shoved it down. But as I go on in life, it seems like I find that everybody has some kind of creative outlet, whether that's music or writing or dancing or just some kind of hobby that they like. But yeah, then what's art and what's creative? What's a creative? What's the creative space? It's hard to define that too. So
that was one of my first assignments in college, was define art, or what is art, and we had to write an essay on that.
Okay. Is it hard?
Yeah, because when you actually sit down and think about it, it's like it can be really anything.
Yeah, you could be really broad with it. Be like, whoever engineered this table is an artist. Like, maybe it's in the eye of the beholder. Like, if they took it that way as like a creative expression of themselves, then yeah, I guess, well, that's what I think it is. There you go. Okay. It just came out. But I think, there's some things that we do that are just, we think of as work and we're not trying to express anything through it, then maybe that's not art. But okay, so to answer the previous question, what's my relationship to art? I was thinking that's more like a qualifier, like, why are you on this podcast?
Yeah.
Prove yourself. Are you just some random person, or like, what's artistic that you do,
Prove that you deserve to be here.
Oh my gosh, no pressure. Or I guess more like people who are listening, give them some background of why what you're going to say matters in the rest of the segments. So I dance. I've been like dancing since I was young. I started taking ballet when I was in elementary school, and then I got more into like lyrical and modern dance.
You said you did ballet for a while, right?
Yeah, I did ballet from yeah, like grade school, like elementary school through, not through all of high school, but into at least middle school, and I was on some teams and stuff, so I did a lot of ballet.
Was
and
that your
jazz.
choice, or were you sort of pressured into it?
It was my choice. So my mom put me into it because she always wanted to do dance, but I loved it, so then I just kept wanting to go.
And specifically ballet, or did you sort of feel like once you got that sort of basis or like foundation, you were like, oh, ballet's fine, but I like, more expressive type stuff.
Well, that's a good question.
Or do you still love ballet?
Actually, my relationship to dance has changed for sure. I mean, to ballet specifically. So at my studio growing up, the ballet program was really strong. Like the director was really awesome, super passionate, and she would just really help people improve. And it was fun and it was challenging and everything. And then their jazz program was pretty good too, but I didn't even know what lyrical was or modern, which are more, I don't know, if people don't know what dance is. Like when you watch So You Think You Can Dance, or like if you see a music video that has dance in it, it's probably lyrical or modern. Like if you think of dancing that's not couples dancing, that's entertaining, and that's not hip hop dancing, it's probably, yeah. So anyways, I didn't know what those were, but if they had those, I probably would have been more into them because I feel like I can express myself better through that. But ballet was just what we had, and the way that they did it there was fun. But I think once I found those, it was like, once I found lyrical and modern, it kind of made ballet pale in comparison for me. So it's really nice to have that structure and that basis of technique, but then the other ones I think are more fun for me, for sure.
I feel like you can still see some of that form and technique while you're dancing. I mean, it sort of comes out while you're dancing.
Are you saying me specifically because you've seen me dance? Okay. Yeah. I thought you were saying when one dances, but I was like, oh yeah, actually you've seen it. You're like, that looks like ballet.
You specifically. There's like ballet elements to it.
That's true. I still do enjoy it from time to time for the exercise. And and then I joined, I found after college a Christian dance team actually here in Denver, and we met like not that far from where we're doing this podcast. Yeah, it was just around the corner. It was on Larimer. Yeah, so I thought that's kind of special, this block. And I had grown up Christian and I had done dance, but I had never like combined them. So that was the first time I was like doing dance.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Oh, okay.
Where did they sort of combine, or when did you start doing that in church?
Yeah, that was, so I wasn't even doing it in church yet at that point, but yeah, it was just through some friend of mine who knew I danced and knew the director and told me to audition. Yeah. And we would do Bible studies on the weekends, and then during the week we'd have practice and do shows. So that was the first time I like expressed my faith through dancing, I would say. Because as I was thinking about the question, I was thinking that was the first time I danced for God, but that doesn't feel quite accurate because it's not like if I'm just doing a ballet performance at a secular institution that it can't be for God, you know? That's kind of some of the questions we wanted to dive into in this podcast. But I mean, like, to express my faith, like the show that we did was called 7 Deadly Sins. So there was like a dance of different kind of sins, and then like...
How old were you?
I was 24.
Oh, okay. I was thinking this was still in grade school. So no. That's pretty intense.
No, that was when I was in, like, after college when I found this Christian dance team. Yeah, it was intense. Yeah, it was pretty good. It wasn't a kid show. It was cool. Good. Yeah, it was great. It was a cool experience to be kind of intense, but for the Lord. So
let me see this one we have. How have you encountered God in art or dance or the creative space in general?
For me, I've noticed that I encounter God a lot through visuals.
Okay.
So whether that's like a TV show or movies, or like if I'm watching someone dance, I feel like this is such a broad question, but there's different ways that I encounter God, I guess. Like if I'm watching The Chosen or some show that's like about something in the Bible, I find that it's so much easier to connect with when you can actually see it versus imagining it. Like I've just found that to be really powerful. Actually, something funny. So even before The Chosen came out, I just had gotten really into watching like biblical depictions of stuff for some reason, like the year before and leading up to it.
Like on
And-
YouTube or?
Yeah, on
Okay.
YouTube or on there's this platform called Crossflix or there's PureFlix where it's like Netflix but it's like Christian shows.
Is it subscription based?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think mostly on YouTube when I was looking for them. I don't know what actually got me into it at first, but then I was like, this is so... I think there was one that I stumbled across that was just the Gospel of John, like word for word. They didn't change any of the words, but they were just like acting it out. And
Yeah.
it just felt like so much easier to like receive and grasp and enter into, like just
Yeah.
visually seeing it because we're so used to that nowadays. Like,
Well, and the translations are pretty up to date. I mean, like, we do that with Shakespeare, right? But when you do it in the original language, it's kind of hard to follow and like get into. But if there's a sort of like a modernized version of Romeo and Juliet, then I got into it. You know?
yeah, totally.
So,
Yeah, so
makes
that
sense.
was a cool thing. And then The Chosen came out and just blew me away because I guess what I'm saying is the ones in the past I think were really valuable, but there's something that The Chosen's been able to like
Yeah.
bring a new level and a new dynamic. So like a lot of people don't like the older ones because they think they're like cheesy or boring. So I'm saying I even loved those. So for The Chosen
yeah.
for me was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mountaintop. So yeah, so I really love that kind of depiction. But then dancing, I feel like speaks to me. Like I encounter God in a way that I can't quite understand in my mind. It's kind of like I just feel something inside.
Well, that's very visual. I mean, dance
Yeah.
itself is like among the sort of accepted forms of worship in church these days. Dance is probably the most visually
Yeah,
expressive.
that's true. It is very visual. That's probably why I like it as well.
I mean, video is obviously very visual, but I feel like it's very limited in churches, you know. It's either for announcements or for like a 3-minute warm up to the sermon.
Yeah.
And I think like the ways it can be utilized for worship is just barely been tapped into,
That's really neat. I've never
you know.
thought of that or heard you talk about that. I'm gonna
Well,
have to
because
ask
it's
you
sort
more
of a
about
new, it's a new medium, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, storytelling is old as human history, but like actual visual storytelling that we can record and then reproduce on a mass scale and then it goes over borders, it goes over languages, you know. So I think that's like, you know, The Chosen is getting translated into all these different languages, and I'm sure reaching people that never would have otherwise been able to see it.
Yeah.
I've only seen the first episode so far, but I liked it.
All right.
I don't know.
Homework
I'm
assignment.
kind of like I kind of like intentionally resist things
Really?
that things are popular.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
even mainstream stuff. You know, like, oh, everybody's gonna go see that. I'm not gonna go
Oh,
see
okay.
it. Type of deal.
I see.
I don't really have anything against it though.
You're just trying to maintain.
Trying to be cool.
I'm not in the herd. I'm original.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I saw
respect
the
that.
one with Mary Magdalene, right?
Yeah, that's
and
the
she
first one.
has like a whole scene dedicated to her, and she's like
Yeah.
wrestling and stuff, and I
Yeah.
thought that was powerful.
It's wild. It's
Yeah.
pretty engaging. I was like, what is going on? It's just not what you'd expect from a Jesus show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so visuals. But that's cool. Like, I want to ask you more about that when it's your turn.
When it's my turn? Okay.
Yeah, about videos and your ideas for that.
Well,
Okay, I want to add.
yeah.
I also write songs.
You write songs.
I write songs.
How many
And-
songs have you written?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Somebody asked me that in January.
How many
between-
secret songs do you have? that
secret
haven't
song?
been
I know.
released to
That's
the
the thing.
world?
Yeah, I've only released one song, and that was with a friend, and I'm like singing background vocals, and you can't even tell it's me, but I did help write it. But yeah, I have a lot of unreleased songs. I don't know, like 30 or something. But I mean, I've been writing since also when I was young, like middle school.
Is it just that you haven't like recorded them like
Yeah.
professionally, and then but you want to
Well,
release them?
Okay, that's true. As far as being like released, what does it mean like publicly? Like there's a song I wrote that I sang at a friend's wedding or
Cool.
a song I wrote that I like sang in a talent show in college or something.
Nice.
So I guess I've been a little bit public, but not like released on Spotify is what I mean, or like on a platform where
Yeah, I
people
guess
could
I
listen
don't
to
really
it.
know what I mean by that either.
Released.
Yeah, because I guess I just mean for the general public to
Yeah.
access.
Right.
Um,
I would like to do more of that, so that's why I'm mentioning it. But
Yeah.
you're saying why did I not do it before?
yeah, I guess what's holding that up a little bit.
Well, so one of the later questions I wanted to ask is, what's an insecurity of yours about your art form?
If you want to ask yourself any questions, feel free. Or if you just want me to go down, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here too.
I just wanted to tie that in because I was thinking about it, and that's one of the big reasons is because I didn't think I was good enough, and I think I was afraid to try because I think I was afraid to find out that I wasn't good enough, so I just didn't even want to try. But lately I've just been more encouraged, like, whatever, just go for it, and I'm doing it for myself or like for the Lord.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't.
It also depends on what you consider success, or what are your expectations.
Yeah.
Like, I was scrolling through Instagram recently, and I saw this thing from John Mayer, which was like, before you get started, just try and quickly define your expectations.
Oh wow.
And it's like, some people are so successful, but they don't accept it because they never stop to think about,
To
what
define it.
success is to them,
Wow,
or
that's
what
great.
expectations they had at the beginning. But if you, did release a song and some people said they liked it,
Yeah.
even if it didn't get a million views
Yeah.
or plays,
Right. A million streams.
that can be success too. So, I mean, I have written a couple songs myself.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you tell me that?
I don't think so.
What?
No, I keep
Secret
mine
songs.
secret too.
Why are
But-
your secret? Okay, your turn to
Well,
answer
because
the
I'm
question.
not really trying to be like a singer.
Okay. So you just wrote them to express yourself versus to share?
Yeah.
Or?
So there was this short period of time where I lived in like a commune,
Wow, I did
sort of
not
deal.
know this. I'm learning so
like
much.
just a student house
Okay.
with like 30 people,
That's a lot of people.
and everybody was like creative and musical and stuff.
Oh, cool.
And so
Fun.
I played a little guitar, and so I wrote like 3 songs.
Okay.
And then they had sort of a challenge, like a talent show type of deal.
Okay.
And they wanted me to perform my songs. And I had already done it once for them at like our group Bible study. But then they were like, you should do it at our show. And then I was like super nervous. And then I was like, this is not what I want to do. This was just for Bible study. This is our little thing. This is
Okay.
not for the world.
I see.
So I'm glad I wrote them, and they were successful for what they were made for.
Okay.
But they were not made for anything bigger than that. So
So are you saying you didn't enjoy the experience?
no, I did enjoy the experience, but
I mean, of performing them. It
My-
sounds like you enjoyed the experience of writing them,
right, yeah,
but performing them.
not so much.
Oh, okay. So that's when you knew, like, this isn't for me.
Especially because somebody who went after me was a musician.
Oh,
And it's like he said, sorry, I'm messing up so much, and it sounded so good.
Oh.
And I was like, oh,
that's
sure.
always
Yeah, dude.
makes me roll my eyes.
So, okay.
So,
We
yes.
kind of touched on this earlier, but, well, let's start out with, what is Christian art?
Okay.
Since we're beginning the podcast and we haven't laid any ground rules yet, what is it to you?
Well, I think it could be a lot of things, like what we talked about, what even is art. And it could be we talked about this before this conversation, but it could be something from like, this is the Bible depicted in art, to this is a Christian who made something that's art, so it's Christian art. I would say those are the ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And where I define it, I guess I would qualify all of those as Christian art, like across the spectrum. But I was thinking about my favorite kind of Christian art. Okay, maybe I'll just say I think Christian art is art that like glorifies God, that like brings, you know, glory to God, and that could be a lot of different things. So I'll just leave that wide open box. But
yeah. So that invites the question, does it have to have been created with the intention of bringing glory to God?
Okay, that's a great question. I think, personal opinion, if it was created to, it might do that better versus if you weren't trying to. Like, there could be a Christian that makes something that's totally not glorifying to God, you know? Like,
or a non-Christian who makes something that...
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe they're commissioned to make something that they don't believe.
Yeah. I'm thinking, or even... I wish I could think of an example, but if a non-Christian makes something that just has so much truth in it that it makes, you know, whoever's...
Well, like, was Michelangelo a Christian?
I think... Okay, they say those artists of that day were all part of the Catholic Church. So were they actually... Because it seemed like it was kind of like you had to be. Like, everybody was...
Or was that just who had the money and was commissioning
right.
art?
Yeah, so it's like, who knows if he actually had the faith or not. From what
You'd
I've
like
heard
to think that when he was making David, he wasn't regretting it the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you'd like to think that it was coming from a place of actually believing it. But
it seems like that was... I was going to ask, what is the heyday of Christian art?
Oh.
Like, okay, so Christianity started 2,000 years ago. So we only have
true.
a finite window to choose from.
Okay.
But what was the best period of it?
Oh, wow. This is a great question. Was this your secret question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't find my secret question, but if I
hope it
think
just
of
comes
it, I'll...
to you. I pray it just comes to you.
Yeah.
The heyday of Christian art. Wow. I have not thought about that. I think right now is actually so awesome because there's so many different kinds of mediums. Like, we've had painting, we still have painting, but yeah, now we have video and we can combine, you know, dancing and music. Music we can make in so many different ways than we did before.
There's more mediums available to us now.
Yeah.
But like, as far as
like powerful
quality and
potency, quality
and reach.
Oh, and reach. Okay, well, as far as reach, I guess it does seem like that Renaissance period, like Michelangelo's day, there was a huge reach because a lot of people were Catholic and would go to the Catholic Church or go see. It just seemed like it was generally part of the culture.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you're asking for reach, maybe. I don't know. I have not thought about this.
It seems like it started out very low, of course, and then went really high as far as, like, you know, the Catholic Church commissioning artists and painters and sculptors, and then, like, went down again, and then it's coming back up.
Wow, you think it's coming back up?
Yeah, I think it's on its way up.
I feel like it's coming back up, but I'm also like in that space, and that's what I look for. So that's what's being sent to me, you know, by all the algorithms. So I'm like, I hope it's coming up. It's hard to know what's actually popular or what most people are looking at because of algorithms these days. But
yeah, well, you mentioned The Chosen, and that got streamed on like Netflix and some other big services.
And it was in movie theaters too.
And movie theaters.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Then now end the Renaissance period.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. That's a really good question. I don't feel like I have a ton of exposure actually to past art as much as I would like to call myself cultured. I did math and science a lot.
Yeah.
I avoided history classes and that kind of classes in school.
Was it too much of like a gray area? You like black and white stuff?
I do really like black and white stuff. It's so interesting. Me and a good friend, hopefully we'll have her on. Her name's Bianca. We're talking about that like extreme because we like, as far as work goes, really cut and dry. Like, here's what I need you to do. Go do it. Check the box. I don't want to design anything. I don't want to come up with anything. I just want to execute. Mm-hmm. But then as far as hobbies, I'm like, I want no boxes. I want to create. I want to do dances. I want to write songs. And yeah, so I do like things cut and dry.
So what's kind of your goal with this podcast?
Oh, because I'm so cut and dry? Is that what you mean?
No, because of what you just said. Or if you don't have any, that's fine.
No, I do. I was thinking about it, and I think it would be valuable. Okay, two things come to mind. One is I was talking with a friend who's a painter last week, and she was saying it's so helpful to, this isn't her words exactly, but like feed your soul when you're an artist on inspiring content, because it just helps you to keep going and not get discouraged, and like helps you get inspired and create stuff you wouldn't have done and push yourself. And yeah, that just made me think about the intentionality of like tuning into things that are gonna.
Yeah.
And she was actually specifically talking about having a community of people around you that are going for it, because that's going to make you go for it. Yeah. So my thought with this podcast is that if people listen, if we have people on here who are doing the thing, you know, like doing the Christian art, and even just other people hearing their thoughts about it and hearing something valuable that they've wrestled with the Lord over and come up with, like those golden nuggets, like that could be so inspiring to people, and hopefully build a community around, you know, Christian artists in Denver, because I feel like especially in Denver it is burgeoning. Like I feel like there's a lot of growth with Christian art in Denver, and the music scene is increasing, so that's super fun. That's my goals. What should I ask you? Should I wait?
That was a really genuine question or answer, and it was like a really good answer too.
Oh, well, thanks.
So I was thinking of my answer, and it's kind of more selfish.
That's okay.
Well, it's along the lines of that question I brought up earlier about what do you define as success, and mine would sort of be to, like, eventually just quit my job.
Oh yeah.
Not that the podcast alone will do that, but like, you know, through the video and the podcast and everything, like if I could, you know, make that my job,
your full-time thing, that would be
but
awesome.
if we don't, that it's not going to be a failure
so
either.
that's not the only definer of success, but that's
a goal.
That's a goal. Yeah, like you were just saying that. Wait, who was it that said that you should define success?
John Mayer.
John Mayer.
I don't know if
the legend.
I don't know if he's a good reference.
We look up to John Mayer. I mean, I would say he's successful in his sphere. So
he's gotten a lot more introspective lately.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you said that, now we're doing it. That's great. You put it
well,
into
and like
practice.
you said about community, not just like making money and going viral or whatever, but like if you have a genuine love for it and a community that inspires you and that you help inspire them, that's, I mean, I definitely want those things
valuable.
too.
I mean,
because when you were like, let's make some stuff,
yeah,
you know, I was excited because it wasn't all on me, you know, because usually I'm the one trying to get people excited about something.
Really?
And it's hard to do,
yeah,
you know, so if you have other people around you who are already excited too, then that helps.
Yeah, well, I was just talking to this friend earlier about you'll just schedule stuff and be like, okay, I booked studio time, and I'm like, man, if Nick wasn't doing that, these are things I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
I probably would have just kept thinking about it for another year or two, but now we're doing stuff like every few weeks, and it's so great to, just have accountability and someone that you're doing it with. You're like, it's on the calendar, it's happening.
Yeah.
Because even if you scheduled it on your own or I scheduled it on my own, who knows if we'd actually do it, but because we committed to each other, it was like, okay, we're doing
By the way,
this.
you're recording your songs this weekend.
Oh, wow. You scheduled it?
So hope you're ready for that.
Okay, I'm actually in a songwriting challenge this month where we have to write a song every week. So I have to write a song by Saturday. I was trying to come up with one on the way here, just singing some stuff in the car. So hopefully more to come, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get to a couple of more of these.
Okay.
How do you wrestle with whatever it is, or with whether it shows, or whether art shows Christ enough? That was your question, so...
Did you ask it because you liked it, or...
Nope.
You just grabbed a random one?
Well, it was the next one.
Okay, well, if you don't want to ask it, you don't have to. I just put some ideas out there.
No, I like it.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get you to say. You like it.
Well, I know that everything I ask you, I have to answer next week.
Oh, so that's why it makes you nervous.
It's a big question, you know?
Yeah.
And I wrestle with that, for sure.
How do you know?
Well, because honestly, where I live and who I'm surrounded by does unfortunately influence how I act. So it's like, um, you know, how outgoing do I want to be with this type of thing?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you were thinking about, but I don't know. Do you make art that isn't Christian, or do you make art only for God, or do you have to decide that before you start? You know?
These are great questions. I think we're all on different journeys too. Because for me, I feel like if I'm not doing it for God, it doesn't feel right to me.
Mhm.
But I think that there are people who are believers who make stuff that don't necessarily have that in mind, and it's still good stuff. So I don't want to restrict and say it has to be like that. But
Yeah.
for me, I feel like a conviction that everything I do should be for God.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does it look like to be for God? That's where the wrestle has been. Like if it doesn't mention God in it, if it's like a love song, things we've talked about before, like if it's a love song and it's not a song about the Lord, is it still for God? Is it still Christian enough? And I definitely think my mindset on that has changed. When I was in college, I was a lot more closed-minded about it, and I have a big heart for evangelism, so I think that comes out in a lot of the things I do. And then I'm like, if we're not preaching the gospel, we're wasting our time. Why are we even doing this?
Yeah.
But I've started to think about even the name of this podcast, like everything is a statement. We don't have to preach the gospel.
Do you like that?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I guess we're doing it because...
Thank you so much. I'm so glad.
No, I think it's cool.
Okay.
I think it's like mysterious.
All right, I'll make t-shirts.
Make a logo, okay?
Okay. I'll come up with some drafts. How about this? What piece of art have you made that you're the most proud of?
Ooh. Okay, the first thing that comes to mind is this dance I choreographed to an Aaron Strobel song, Surprise, Surprise. I love so many Aaron Strobel songs. P.S. I was thinking about today, when I was thinking of examples of people who or examples of art that I feel like is doing it right, so to speak, in my book, things that I really connect with where it's genuine, but it's not necessarily like, let's use a lot of Christian words and just throw them around to a good melody.
Right.
So many of his songs came to mind, so shameless plug for Aaron Strobel. But it's a song called Angel.
Yeah.
And it's about being trapped in different emotions like depression or sadness or anger. And this one dancer comes along and like frees people one by one, and then the rest of them start freeing each other. So it starts off with this kind of dark, dirgy kind of thing, and then it ends up with this like celebration. And I don't know, I think I'm really proud of it because it's pretty long for a dance, and I think it's pretty entertaining. I did it like in 2016, so I probably should bring it back out and get some more people's opinion about it, if it's just like my baby that I think it's beautiful because it's my baby, or if it's actually, powerful and impactful. Yeah. But what was really significant about that is that I've never choreographed for a group until then. I didn't think that I could. I was like, I just dance. I don't choreograph. Really? Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I've choreographed solo dances for talent shows or whatever, but whenever I started a dance team in my church with this friend of mine, and she had done choreography before, so I was like, okay, cool, you're going to do the choreography. And she got pulled away with some work stuff or something, couldn't do it, and we needed to come up with a dance, and she just encouraged me, you can do it. So I was figuring out along the way that, I can do this. And it's turned out pretty good. So, that's that. I think there's probably some songs that I would be proud of if I actually let people listen to them and put them out there. But for now, it's that. That
will be at your own pace. No pressure on that.
You just got to schedule it. Then it'll happen, Nick. It's all on you.
I'm not a sound engineer. I don't know how to produce music, but I'll find a guy.
Wait, what were you asking before that? Oh, how do you decide if it's Christian enough?
Christian enough?
Or how do you wrestle with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought about it, so I wanted to share that answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, what I've gotten to at this point, my process, is that I'll pray, and I'll have an idea or some kind of inspiration of something that I want to do. And generally, it's something, I just think I mean, Jesus is the truth, right? Like he says he's the truth. So things that show truth, not just something that's true, if that makes sense, if I
Mhm.
can make that distinction,
Mhm.
even though it might be confusing, but the truth, like this higher truth of like hope or, yeah, salvation, or like
Yeah.
the value of giving versus just taking everything for ourselves, things like that. Or that freedom's available, like this dance that I did was like, you don't have to be stuck in these. Okay, so anyways, if something is truth, then I want to show that in some kind of artistic way.
Yeah.
I'll pray about it and be like, Lord, if this isn't what you want, if it's not accurate, just stop me. I'm open to it. I think that's like what makes me have the assurance, is that I give him an open door, like speak. And if I don't, I think what's hard or what I've had to learn to do is like, if I don't hear anything, to not doubt it and then be like, okay, it must not have been the Lord because he didn't give like 100 confirmations and signs and a resounding audible yes, but I'll just start moving into it. And then if it's, just trust that if it's not the Lord, he's going to close the door. So that's
Was
what it
there
looks like
anything
now.
that you made for a church that you weren't feeling,
Oh,
or something that you made not for any event or production, but that you were just totally feeling?
ooh. Okay, so the friend that I said, okay, you do the choreography, her name's Jeanette. She's a painter also. Hopefully we'll have her on. The dance she chose to choreograph to was Great Are You Lord for our church.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't like that song. I don't know why. I never did.
Yeah.
And then I had to listen to it 100 zillion times
Right.
while choreographing it. And then we had to dance to it. And I mean, I connect with the fact that I believe the lyrics are true, like, and it's glorifying to God, but it wasn't like, oh, I feel this in my body. I love this song. It was just like, all right. So
Was that the one where you switched the songs to Aaron's, or was that a different dance?
No, so what we ended up doing is we did it at a public venue. It was a festival, and they said you can't have any Christian songs. So one of my friends,
Interesting.
yeah, they said they didn't say Christian, sorry. They said no religious materials, which I think they just didn't want someone to get up there and just start like touting their religion.
No proselytizing.
Yeah. They didn't say that. They just said no religious
basically.
stuff. Yeah, I'm assuming that's why they put it in there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And we had to have a certain amount of content to apply.
Right.
And we were really stretching. We didn't have enough dances. So I was like, we have to do this dance. This is like one of our main dances. So one of my friends, Benjamin, learned the lyrics in Spanish, and it was so great because nobody knew.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
most people in that area don't know Spanish,
Right.
so it was still totally singing Christian,
There you go.
glorious worship to the Lord, but in Spanish. So,
Cool.
yeah, I don't know if that's what you were thinking of.
I'm kind of thinking of like the David and Goliath thing, where it's like, this is what you were meant to do, but you've got to do it your own way.
Oh,
Okay.
If I have an example like that.
Well, that was a good example. I mean,
Okay.
it's like it's like you're
Creative.
tasked with something, and you have to come through, with a critique, either a dance or a piece of art, and then it's like you're told how to do it, and it's like you're just not. I've had that. That's why I asked.
Okay,
Because it's
I was
like
wondering.
it's
Just
it's
not
kind of
feeling
like
it.
you have to wear your own armor, or you have to have your own sling.
Yeah.
So. I think that's still very relevant, and I don't think the church quite realizes that.
That's so
sometimes.
interesting. I like that. I like that for artists. Yeah, like, are you letting them bring their sling? Are you trying to force them to wear your armor to accomplish this thing?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a kind of sort of preconceived, I don't know, notion that we have 3 minutes to fill here in this sermon, so we have, we can get something kind of artsy, but, it has to be, I don't know. It's kind of fairly regulated sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you're given a little bit more free reign, it can still be God-honoring and Christian, but it doesn't have to be what they were thinking of,
That's some of my favorite stuff, actually, is when it's not what you're expecting.
Yeah.
And it's a little towing the line. Okay, so back to Aaron Strumpel songs.
Yeah. He better be on here sometime. Because
Yeah,
he's
he's
too
going to.
popular
I'm going to make him be on it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs of his is called Dove, and it says, I want to know a person like you that's not afraid to touch the crooked and the poor, and it goes on like that. And one of the lines is like, who's not afraid of, I forget what comes before it, but maybe the broken and the whore. And it says whore in it. Like, it says the word whore. Can I even say that on this Christian podcast?
Yeah.
But I loved it because it's so...
Hell yeah.
Because it was so provocative, but not just for the sake of being provocative. It was like,
Right.
That's how Jesus lived, you know? He was like hanging out with prostitutes. He was hanging out with drunkards and the people that society would deem, you know...
Yeah.
unholy, and he was like, these are my besties.
Yeah.
So I love when things kind of toe that line where it's like, okay, what is God actually after? Like us looking holy or being really real and
Right.
connecting with real people. So yeah, I love it when things are Christian but not the way that is traditional or that you expect to see. So I think that could be really cool if churches gave people more leeway to do that kind of edgy stuff that makes people a little uncomfortable. I think they need to be a little uncomfortable.
Art is, part of art, the intention of art is to disturb, the comfortable and comfort the disturbed.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So, I agree. I think, the church has come some way in, including art into their message, but I think they have a long way to go too. Yeah.
So with that question, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
What would that look like? Because I'm just thinking through. Logistically, there's usually a reason why if a church gives kind of strict limits.
Yeah.
So what do you imagine it looking like? Like them just giving less. Like how could we encourage people of authority in those kind of situations to give artists more leeway? Because maybe they're not even realizing that they're putting the art in a box by giving those stipulations.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what you imagine like the solution is, or what would be helpful for people making those kind of decisions.
Well, I think it's, of course, it all depends on the situation and the piece of art that you're coming up with. But I think it's important to first off judge the sort of heart of the artist to see if they're genuine in their love and their faith, for God. So, but then to give them, a bit of free rein to say, all right, we need 5 minutes. We need a 5-minute video for this sermon.
Go for
Go.
it. That would be cool.
And then after they've done it, say whether or not, it fits. But sort of to trust, I guess it would just be trust for the artist, to
Trust.
be able to come up with something that's fitting. I don't know.
Trust. No, that makes sense. I think I've seen that. I mean, even in the charismatic stream, there's spontaneous worship leading where people just, even not in the even outside the charismatic stream, worship leaders, they have to have a lot of trust because they have the microphone and they'll just start saying stuff.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen it where people say stuff that make me go, what? But they're just in a moment and they're just going. It's almost like a mini sermon. So yeah, I feel like that there are places where we see that. Because they just have the microphone for 30 minutes. They can kind of take it whatever direction they want. But it's because, generally, the leadership has trust with them that they're grounded in the Lord, that their heart is in the right place, and that, their theology is sound and they're not going to go and start talking about something crazy. But to have that same kind of trust with.
Or at least some collaboration along the way where you can present a draft and then refine it and then present another one and then refine it. But
that would be cool.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of a general question. It would kind of depend on the circumstances, I suppose.
But trust, no, I think that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Practical.
Okay.
So, all right.
Working our way forward here. Um, what is one of your greatest areas of pain or insecurity around art or creative space?
Do you think this is a great question? What do you think of this question?
It's probing, but I like it.
I'm a probing person. I'm like, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets.
By the way, everything is free game next time, so whatever you want to ask.
I need to come up with some secret questions for you.
Come up with the hard-hitting questions.
What makes you cry? Just kidding. Yeah, for me, I shared a little bit earlier, but it's singing, and it's because in moments in the past when I've shared things, not in the recent past, but I guess growing up,
Mm-hmm.
I was really thinking about this today. It wasn't like people said, wow, your voice is horrible, please stop singing. But no one said, wow, you have such a good voice, you should keep going. I don't remember hearing that. And it is like, it can be a selective thing where you just remember the bad stuff or the hard things. But yeah, I remember sharing songs I shared a song with my mom, and I shared a song with my dad. It might have been the same song, but I think both of their reaction, and that at that age, I think I was in middle school.
Okay.
So it's like other people's opinion was so important to me. And yeah, neither of them said, okay, maybe you should hang up the songwriting gig, but I think they both were just like, okay, cool. And never mentioned it again. And I think if they thought or responded in, wow, we should get you into classes, we should do more with this,
Yeah.
I think maybe I would have valued it more. So,
Right.
yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Why? Because I was thinking, why do I feel so insecure about my voice that I would tend to not sing in front of people or not share my songs even though I enjoy them?
You enjoy it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what I feel like the Lord was saying to me even when I was thinking about it today was, what if you didn't, going back to defining success, what if you didn't look at it as a talent competition, like you're doing some routine and they're going to deduct points for every mistake you make, but more like that you're able to just participate in something like you would, if it was a relay race or something, like an obstacle course or some fun. I was thinking, picture you show up at, I don't know, a family picnic and they have some kind of fun games that you play, like something like that, where you're trying to challenge yourself and you're trying to be better, but you're not so serious, like, oh, I have to be perfect, I have to be good enough. There's no standard above which you're trying to meet, kind of a thing. So I'm trying to embrace that now.
I gotta be honest, like this morning, the comparison thing really gets me. Because I woke up and I looked on Facebook and I saw like 2 other people my age who are pretty successful in filmmaking. And I just saw like the new thing that they're onto. And I was like feeling pretty down today, to be honest. Like, because I'm happy for them, of course. Like, I want them to do everything they can. But, I'm happy with the things that I make, but I also have a hard time not looking at other people and seeing where they are and what they're doing and not feeling some, jealousy or insecurity about that. So I think for me, when I make something that I've genuinely put some hard work into, I'm happy with it. But then when I look at other people, I have a hard time. That's my insecurity, is sort of comparison,
Yeah, I think that a lot of people can relate to that, because even what I'm describing, I was thinking the reason I feel insecure, it's because I compare myself to Adele or someone who's a really amazing singer, and then think, oh, I don't have anything to offer because I can't do that. So I guess it's a little different than what you're saying right now about yours, but still that comparison.
Yeah.
So what do you do in those situations? I mean, do you have any tips or things you've learned that help in those kind of
today
instances?
I just tried to pray it out. But then I don't really have any other solutions.
Okay.
Just work hard. I don't know.
Work harder. No, I think that's a really good question to ponder, because especially with art, like in comparison to kind of what we were talking about, art versus engineering. I mean, you could still compare in engineering, but I think it's different because if there's a kind of a job where you're just checking a box, it's different than art is so subjective, right? It's like, is this really good? And how do you know if it's good? And generally we measure if it's good by other people's responses to it and how many people are responding to it.
Well, and if I'm also honest with myself, I look at what they're doing and it's not exactly what I would want to be doing. Like if I was 100% choosing my own project, regardless of, budget, it's probably not what those guys are doing.
That is really interesting.
But they are working on, bigger projects and clients and things like that. So it's partly, just focus on yourself, focus on, what you can do, what you have control over. And also, like, be honest, you're probably, or me, I might not ever be doing what they're doing, but do I even want to? Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's partly because we were doing this podcast today and I was like a little bit nervous anyway. And I saw that stuff.
You were like,
and I was
who am I even?
what are these? Oh man, these guys have it going on. What am I doing? But no, I'm always like praying through it, and then I'm always trying to focus on what I am working on and what I am happy about,
That sounds really good. Yeah, really positive.
Yeah.
Because who knows? I mean, one thing you said is, who knows what it's like to be in their shoes? Maybe they're not even enjoying it. And you're saying if you were in their shoes, you wouldn't necessarily be enjoying it.
Well, it's not what I dream of necessarily, but they are successful. So it's like...
So that part is...
Yeah, I have to focus on my own success,
Yeah.
my own definition of success. So...
focusing on what you have done and what you are doing, I think is really helpful and really valuable. Like, I think that's where the riches of life come from, like actually feeling satisfied.
Yeah. Well, and if there's growth, like a lot of times there's like, you're not going to be on the same page as somebody else, but if you look at yourself a year ago, has there been some growth? And that's something to celebrate. So,
that's true.
Yeah.
That is really valuable. That is something that we can look at and find some excitement from. So I think it really depends what we're looking at, where we're putting our eyes and what we're focusing on. This is good food for thought. I want to think about it more, about jealousy, because I had somebody ask me about it. This was in another season when I wasn't pursuing artistic stuff. It was when I was doing engineering, and I just couldn't really relate. So it's like, I'll pray for you. I don't know. I just don't experience that, But, so I felt bad saying that because it sounds like I'm some, holier than thou. But yeah, now that I'm in this season, I definitely feel it more. And I think it can be such a snare, of the enemy to discourage us from creating stuff.
Yeah.
And it just kind of takes the life out of stuff that we are doing that's exciting. So I want to think about that more too, what we could share with people to encourage them.
Well, couple more questions. Do you want to get to your big one? What does entertainment look like in heaven?
Yes, I thought about it.
You've been stewing, like, ready to answer this for a while now, so I'm excited.
Well, okay, I asked this question because, just a backstory preface for people listening, is we pray in the Lord's Prayer, let the Lord's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so a lot of things, I mean, even through the Bible, there's a lot of symbolic stuff where God asks people to do stuff because it represents the way things are in heaven, even the tabernacle or like, it's really interesting. The more I study the Bible, that's a lot of what we're doing on earth is making it look like heaven. And so when I thought about entertainment and wanting to pursue it, I was thinking, I want to do things that last, that are eternal, that aren't just for temporary satisfaction. So I was wondering, what does this look like living into eternity, like even after this life? Because a lot of other things we can see how that would look, even just, reading our Bible and praying, like getting to know the Lord is an internal investment because we're going to still have that after this life is over and be able to keep.
But entertainment is a specific thing. It's not just art or beauty. It's entertainment.
Okay. Yeah.
So I like that question, the way it's phrased.
Okay, you do. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Because art, I think there could be a lot of art in heaven.
You don't think of being in heaven and scrolling on Netflix and picking a movie.
Exactly.
So
or even going to movies.
Yeah, I want to hear your whole thought process on this.
My thought process was, also even now, I wanted to frame the entertainment that I'm choosing now because there's so much entertainment out there. I was going to say good entertainment. That kind of has a different connotation. Like, there's so much really engaging, amazing stuff that people are able to do, like, in cinema these days, that it can be really enticing. And there's TV shows that people watch that I don't... Like, if I were to watch that show, it would feel, like, yucky to me in my soul. But everybody has their different conviction levels. I'm sure there's things that I watch that people would be like, oh, you watch that? I feel convicted against that,
Right.
So I was just thinking, like, is there going to be, the Marvel Cinematic Universe in heaven? Are we going to watch that? Are we going to, or things like... I love... You hope not? Okay. I enjoy Marvel movies. But that's because, for me, I just see a lot of, like, good winning over evil and, like, the kind of, underlying truth, I think, is what speaks to me in those kind of things. But then there's, there's definitely aspects that are not from the Lord. So I'm like, what does it look like? And I think as Christians, we can compromise a lot on our entertainment because it's entertaining and just put that excuse over it. Even
compromise
if it's
in the sense that you watch or participate in something you maybe shouldn't.
Yeah. Maybe it's...
Or the other way, we restrict ourselves too much, and there's things that are good that don't need to be restricted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I wanted to get back to that. You saying that before, too. Let me put a pin in that and come back to that. So I'm talking about the end of the spectrum where there's things that... I don't know, if we were thinking about Jesus sitting next to us or something, we probably wouldn't watch that, or we wouldn't. But because it's entertaining and it's just, it's part of this movie that's really great, but it's just this one part. Like, I do it too. I'm not throwing stones. I'm like really introspecting about this. Like, is this fine? And like, should I draw a line there? It's so hard when it's so entertaining.
It's tough when you encounter somebody who has a different mind than you. And then you start to, rethink your whole decision-making process, and you're like, am I really, I don't know, honoring God with my decisions, or am I really, sticking with my convictions, and I don't have a problem, and I don't need to.
So I think it was those kind of questions, which I definitely still wrestle with. Depending. When I'm with different people, it does make me revisit. That made me think, what is entertainment like in heaven? Because if we can get more towards that, then we'll know we're on the right track. We're doing something good.
So describe it. Like,
okay, I don't know. That's funny. Okay, let me re-answer the earlier question. What's the point of this podcast?
What's the
point of this podcast is to find someone to answer this question for me, because I don't know what entertainment looks like in heaven. And I want to
try and answer it. And then I'll try and answer it maybe next time.
Okay.
And then we'll ask it from everybody.
Sounds great. And then maybe we'll find...
I think there's going to be a lot of people who are like, there's entertainment in heaven?
Yeah, see, that's why. And it's like, if there's not,
well,
then
we know
why
there's
do we have
singing, right? And
yes.
Dancing,
probably.
What
else? We know that there's like... throwing our crowns down before Jesus, like being entertained by the Lord being so dazzling.
So would it be like the most epic concert you've ever been to?
If there's entertainment.
Stops.
I don't know. I really want to know. I'm so curious. Yeah, there's music. That's true. There's definitely music. I mean, there's feasting. Not that has to do with entertainment, but I just mean there's things that we do here, not all the things, but there are humanish things here,
Yeah.
that we do here that we'll do there. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, the viewpoint I have is that we would still have lives, not necessarily like just everybody just sits in the throne room at all
Yeah.
times from now till eternity. Although
Yeah.
I'm sure that would be entertaining in and of itself because God's so amazing and like
Yeah.
multifaceted. But okay, this is the best I could come up with today thinking about it. So I'm genuinely like humbly coming with this question to everyone that we'll have
Okay.
on the podcast. Testimonies. That's all I could think of because I was like, what stories? I'm sure the entertainment in heaven is glorifying to God fully, and like pure. And what's more glorifying to God, but also so engaging,
Yeah.
than testimonies. I love hearing people's stories of how God showed up in their life.
Mhm.
That'll definitely like get me on the edge of my seat just to hear different amazing things that God did. And so I could see, I don't know how they'd be depicted, if there'd be films about them or if it would just be
That's
people
cool.
telling stories. But
Do you think we'll be able to watch them?
ooh, that's such
Like
an interesting
in
concept.
sort of like real time. Like I'm sure
Wow.
if he wanted, God could either show us the recording
Yeah.
or recreate it, as it happened. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, because God's outside of time, right? So then when we're with him in eternity, will we be outside of time? I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess it'll be
There's
eternity,
no time in
so
heaven,
there's
right?
no time.
You're the engineer, so
Hurts my brain. Yeah, so can we go? I guess I did imagine that people, who are in heaven already before us can like watch our lives on a TV screen now, but I don't know how
Do you
accurate
think
that
so?
is. That's just the way I never
I
really
don't
thought
know.
about it till now, but I do picture that for some reason.
it's fun to think about.
Yeah.
Like what access people in heaven have, like
Yeah.
to Earth and what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't. I mean, in Hebrews it says we're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, so I always pictured that as like
Yeah.
this balcony above me and they're all like looking over watching my life. I don't know why. Like,
Well, all the football players' parents are watching them, so that's what they always say in
do
their
they?
interview.
Like,
They're
looking
like,
down at me.
I know my dad's watching me right now, so sorry.
Oh, they do.
That might have been
But who knows? I
kind of
mean,
insensitive. I'm
no,
sorry.
I think that was
But,
fine. They say that.
But yeah, in heaven, there's probably entertainment, and there's probably a lot of it, and it's probably
Amazing.
amazing.
But it would bring us closer, not closer, but it would like make us glorify the Lord. It would like,
But story
lead
is
us to-
important to God. Like
that's true.
story has
Let's
always
talk
been
about
important
that.
to him.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think the testimony thing is on the right
okay.
track because, like, I think of Esther, like Esther's story, from start to finish, and Mordecai and all of that is like
Entertaining.
so satisfying.
I want a
You know?
movie of that. I want there
It's
to be a
so
movie.
satisfying, and it's like
It's
there's no
satisfying.
way he wasn't like just up there writing it and waiting for the
Whoa.
story.
Yeah, so what if our lives this whole time are the entertainment later that we'll just keep rewatching? Like, wow, that's crazy to think about. But it does. I mean, there's scriptures that say like, I'll have to look it up, but I think it's in Romans or one of the Corinthians that it's like to show to the powers that be. Oh, man, I'm gonna have to look up this scripture, but it's like he did this with us, like people who were like evil and totally against him and like made out of dirt, and he like made them so glorious through his sacrifice to show to the powers
Yeah.
of darkness. So it's almost like he's like putting us on display and like
Yeah.
making this whole movie of like with us through our lives. Like we're the work of art. Our lives are the work of art.
Yeah.
That's the entertainment for all of eternity. Because yeah, I think we'll never get sick of it too. Like even my own story, when I tell, I'm not like, oh, here it is for the 100th time. I'm like, wow, God is so amazing every time when I tell
Yeah.
some story of him in my life. So maybe that really will. Maybe we cracked it already the first time.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, I like the idea that there's no time because eternity kind of scares me. But if we have enough time or leeway to like tell everybody tell their stories to each other,
Yeah.
that would be great.
I really imagine that happening. And I think that's just based on people talking about it, or songs when people sing about being in heaven and like sharing stories.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just, I definitely imagine that being an aspect of being in heaven is sharing stories of, and being able to meet people that were in the past, like our heroes of the faith, or even like more modern day Christian heroes, and being able to talk with them about their lives and share about our stories. So yeah, but so I think that's the meat of what the entertainment is, because entertainment, is generally story. But then how is it depicted? Are there paintings of it? Are there films? Are people making films in heaven? Like, is there cinema?
Cool. That's cool.
Or maybe it's totally next level and it's not the way that we make films, but they still are showing it.
There's gotta be.
Who's
not
passionate
Marvel
about
films,
it, you're like, there has to be, because I love it so much.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there, like you said, stuff here is sort of imitation or
like a representation
of something in heaven.
Yeah.
Like, so description of the temple is very specific, or the tabernacle.
Yeah.
And the artists who worked on that, like the bronze and the gold, you know, they go into detail and name their names. You know? So it's like you would think there would be all of that in heaven too.
So
there's probably artisans of all sorts.
Huh, I didn't think about that. In my mind, the heaven one, God just made it.
But
maybe there is,
I don't know.
Wow. Well, and, I think maybe why it felt so important to me to figure out was like, is God pleased with me creating stuff that's entertaining? And so if I could figure out what it looks like in heaven, like the perfect form of it, if that makes sense.
Well, the 11th commandment is, thou shalt not bore thy fellow man. So. Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. If that, if it exists in heaven, then it just feels like more valuable even here on earth to do it. And I mean, I think I said this to you before, but it's crazy how people consume it, like across, languages, and like you were saying, even with film, cultures, ages, people love to be entertained. And I'm like, why is that? And I think, part of it is like the Lord is probably so entertaining, actually, just who he is and how deep, and there's just so many facets to him that we could never get bored. But is there an aspect of story and just entertainment that is holy and that is like right and is human and that we'll still have there and wanna I could definitely see people like singing songs for entertainment, like having a concert or something. Film's harder for me to picture for some reason, just because when we think of heaven, we think of it. Okay, because when John wrote Revelation, right, he only had his level of technology and development to describe it with. So it could be totally electronic and technological, and we just wouldn't know till we got there.
But I don't know if it'll be electronic, but I think there will be some sort of display where you can present a story.
That would be so cool. That feels like possible for sure.
Or maybe it's just sort of implanted in our minds and just goes over our eyes, and just like everybody is experiencing it the same way all the time,
I don't know. All right, well, that's fun to think about.
Do you have any other thoughts
questions
to wrap it up? Something we didn't fully flesh out.
Oh yeah. Okay, the thing I put the pin in earlier. Let's go back to that, because you touched on it a few times and I never addressed it. You were asking something to the effect of like, does it feel like difficult does it feel like there's a barrier of mentioning Jesus too much? Because there was like is it Christian art if we don't mention Jesus or the Lord or biblical themes enough? And then there's the box of, is it too much? And you were saying with your environment, I definitely can relate to that, because I think for me, I definitely have friends and family members who don't know the Lord. And because I care about evangelism a lot, I want to be able to present something to them that they wouldn't immediately have walls go up and feel like, oh, this is, you're trying to get me to do something. So I tend to be more subtle about my presentation of the gospel and artistic expressions. But I do, so that's a positive thing, I suppose, because it might be more palatable to someone who wasn't raised in the church and doesn't have that kind of Christianese vernacular. But I do find that I'm like hesitant to say the name of Jesus or like give the Lord the glory if I'm telling a story. I do feel hesitant because I want to be accepted, and I feel like it's not like a popular thing that will be accepted. And that's hard. Yeah, so I have wrestled with that. That's still an open question. I don't have an answer. I guess I'm just sharing my current thoughts about something I'm wrestling through. Is that a problem? And I'll wonder, like, am I ashamed of the gospel? And that's why I can't just mention it? Or am I really just trying to be creative and tactful, like when Paul says become all things to all people, or the way that he talks to the Romans in their kind of language? Then I think, am I just doing that, or am I ashamed? Like, I don't know. I'm still wrestling through what that looks like. And there's probably times where it's appropriate to just mention Jesus' name, even if it makes people uncomfortable. And then there's times where maybe it's more effective not to. So I don't know, but
a lot of it depends on circumstance and situation. I think the Holy Spirit is basically the one you got to follow on that, because it's basically we're humans, so we still have to get along with humans and interact with people who don't believe exactly like we believe. And so there's a time and a place for everything. And when you first meet your neighbors, it might not be the first thing you want to bring up. You might want to just bring them cookies the first time. But I think the Holy Spirit does play a huge role in determining when and how and to what intensity you speak the name of Jesus. And we all make mistakes, but we get other chances too. So,
that's true.
It's just, as artists, it's always on the forefront of your mind, because it's like, all right, is this going to be, is this one going to be a heavy hitter? or is it just going to be, something for people to listen to? So, I think that's a good point. A good question.
Still wrestling. We can revisit that question.
Okay. What is one song you're jamming on right now? Whoa!
Wait, are you looking at my questions?
Kind of.
I put some questions about music, and then I realized I was going on such a music tangent.
I'm just. Well, I think we'll probably wrap it up pretty quick. But what's something or a piece of art that you've? Ooh, doesn't have to be a song. Man.
I would like to get more into visual art, like paintings. I went to. I'm not Catholic, but I went to church, to a Catholic friend's church the other day, and it was so beautiful. I think Protestants generally we don't have that. And I was like, wow, this church is so beautiful. And there was just artwork all over. And I think, I don't know.
Paintings?
Paintings and the stained glass kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just blown away. Like, I guess I knew. I've been to Catholic churches before, but I didn't have as much of appreciation for art back in those days when I was younger, when I was in high school or above. Below. And I was just wanting to get more of that in my life because, like I said, I realized I'm really visual, so I think that would actually help me encounter God more than I realized.
Stained glass is underrated.
It's so
I used to go to a synagogue it was a converted synagogue to a church, but it still had the stained glass, and
Wow.
in the morning when the sun came through, it was just like awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's stained glass and paintings of biblical scenes or art that I'm digging right now.
Yeah.
Songs wise, okay, the first song that comes to mind is Joel Ansett, I'll Be Here. And hopefully we're going to do a dance video to that so people will know what I'm talking about. But
Nice.
it's one of the best songs I've ever encountered. Definitely love it so much. Thanks for asking.
Well, tune in next time to Everything's a Statement. And get all of your answers, all of your questions answered, and all of your concerns.
All of your answers questioned.
Yeah. That's what I like in art, is creating questions and letting people sit in that, and then they just have to come up with an answer. And
So
hopefully
good.
that directs them to God.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I like that.
not black and white.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I like gray areas because it's like makes people really look into themselves. So anyway, thanks so much for coming to the podcast.
You know, thanks for asking me all the questions.
and making it happen.
Yeah,
like
you
it was
too.
good.
Yeah, thanks for making it happen.
Yeah.
We did it. First
All right.
one. Right.
Check
bye,
us out on
everyone.
YouTube, Twitter, Instagram,
Everything's a statement.
and Facebook.
Yeah.
And cut.